What's up, and welcome to another tank review with the AMX-40. It's to be honest, it's very situational, as with a lot of tanks in World of Tanks. I have not had very many good experiences in it. It's one of the first tanks in the game, though, to get side skirt armor, which is it acts like spaced armor on this tank, which it should, but Wargaming hasn't gotten all armor types exactly accurate. It is fairly good when dealing with tanks at the same tier or lower, but against higher tier tanks it can give you problems, especially with this stock turret here. It's just very weak, very thinly armored, and it gets a very bad gun to start with. The upgraded turret isn't much better. It still has a giant weak spot as the machine gun turret up top. And the 247s are not nearly as bad as the stock 47 that you get. It's absolutely terrible. But the 75 at the end is not terribly great either. You may have trouble getting through tier 5 or tier 6, definitely tier 6 armor. On the it says it gets pretty decent horsepower. Don't believe it with the last upgrade, and more on that in a minute. But it doesn't even get that great armor. It claims to get 80 at the front of the turret. That's only true for the very front, the gun mantlet. The rest of it thins out to be almost 30 millimeters, armor at the least, which is very terrible, especially if you're being shot at by little tanks like Looks, which can tear this thing to pieces, especially with the small turret traverse. And from the front, it says it has decent armor, but in the middle, it's only 70 at the two ends, right where the lights are. The middle of it only is about 30, and the driver's hatch is only about 15. So those are the weak spots on this tank. Also, it says it'll do around 40 kilometers an hour. This thing's only doing 40 kilometers an hour if you drop it off of a cliff. It's not gonna do that driving. Certainly not driving on a flat surface, and definitely not on a hill. Not even driving downhill. The most I've ever seen this thing go driving downhill is only 30 kilometers an hour. And it used to get scout matchmaking before they patched it. This thing made for a terrible scout. It couldn't outrun the DW2, let alone try to outrun a Looks to go and scout things. And its view range is terrible. Not exceedingly terrible, but it could definitely be better. I would advise shooting high explosive out of this tank, but unfortunately the high explosive doesn't work well. So armor piercing is the only viable option. It's a howitzer, but the high explosive is just so bad that it's not worth using, because you won't even do more than 5 damage. So I'll have a game to display this thing in the next video.